Algebra Unit 8, Lesson 1, Factor by GCF, Notes, Video 1. You have used the distributive property to multiply a monomial by a polynomial, so a one-termed piece by several termed piece. You can work backwards now to express a polynomial as the product of a monomial factor and a polynomial factor. This is referred to as factoring by GCF, or back from 6th grade, greatest common factor. Factoring a polynomial involves finding the completely factored form. I want to stress that completely factored form. So when I say like simplify or way back, reduce the fraction, simplify the fraction. So let's say it started as 20 over 100 and you made it 10 over 50. That would still be incorrect because it's not completely factored or completely simplified in that case. So we must completely factored form for full credit. Factors are the quantities being multiplied together to form an algebraic expression. So we know that. Let's just go over an example. If I were to go back to 2nd and 3rd grade, 2 times 3 equals 6. So 6 is the product. It's the answer to a multiplication problem. And in this case, the factors would be the two pieces you take and multiply together. So the 2 is a factor and the 3 is a factor. So for this lesson, in essence, I am giving you the product. I'm giving you 6, and you need to go back and give me the factors, the two pieces that were multiplied together to get the answer. So again, I'm giving you the answer, and I want you to take it backwards and give me the problem. Now, you might be thinking, well, 2 times 3 is 6, but what about 1 times 6? That's true. So that's too easy of a problem. So we're going to start by doing the more complicated problems, and you'll see there is only one true answer. All right, moving down the page. Multiply the following expression using the distributive property. So we're going to start. Here are the two factors. 4x squared is 1. It's a monomial. And we're multiplying by the binomial, 3x to the 5th plus 5. And that is our polynomial in this case. And we're multiplying those two to get the product, the final answer. So review from last chapter. We should get 4 times 3 is 12. X squared times x to the 5th. We're adding those exponents, x to the 7th. And then we're going to take and distribute again. So 4 times 5 is 20. It's a positive 20, and x squared just stays along as a piece of it. Okay, so now we're going to undo that. So factor the expression. To factor the expression, we need to pull out the greatest common factor. So I'm looking at this, and I want to go backwards. Now, of course, you already know the answer. We should be getting this. We're undistributing, in essence. Factoring in this lesson means to undistribute. Get the problem, not the answer. So you know the answer already, but let's just talk about this. So I'm going to rewrite this problem. 12x to the 7th plus 20x squared. Okay, so first we need to pull out the greatest common factor. Well, 12 and 20. Let's see, I could pull out a 1. Doesn't help me. I could pull out a 2. That is greater, but there's still got to be a greater one, hopefully. So think 3, no, 4, yes. 4 goes into both of those numbers, and it's the greatest. So I'm going to start by pulling out the 4. Now, did I take out the whole problem? Of course not. Or did I take out all pieces? So I'm going to leave some space, and I'm going to write parentheses. This positive symbol is going to stay inside because I'm not multiplying by negatives or anything that's going to change that. All right, now I'm going to, when I factor, I'm really dividing. So this 12 divided by 4 gives me 3. This 20 divided by 4 gives me 5. So now I found the greatest common factor of the coefficients only. Now let's talk about variables. X to the 7th and x squared. How many x's can you pull out of both of those? Now remember, exponents, the shortcut is we add them. So I'm really going to subtract now. I'm always doing the opposite operation. So x to the 7th, x squared, I know that I can pull out 2 x's. So x to the 7th divided by x squared, our shortcut is we subtract, we get x to the 5th. And x squared divided by x squared, well, that's 1. So I need nothing else in this position. Definitely don't need anything there. So my answer for the factored form is 4x squared times the quantity 3x to the 5th plus 5, which is, again, exactly what I got. All right. Take a moment and try A, B, and C on your own. You should be able to get there, but let's just do one more together. Let's see if I can find the hardest one. I guess B, because it's written not in standard form, perhaps. So I'll try B. I need to examine the greatest common factor, and I'm going to always start with my coefficients. I just think that's easiest. So 30 and 50, the greatest thing I can pull out from there is 10. And again, the better you know your multiplication facts, the better you'll do here. So I'm going to skip some space. This negative sign or minus sign, I'm not multiplying by negative 10 or anything, so I'm going to leave that in there. And 30 divided by 10 is 3, 50 divided by 10 is 5. Now let's do our variables here. I have an x and 3 x's, so x is the highest I can take out. And I'm dividing x by x is 1, so again, this 3 is alone. X cubed divided by x is x squared. Here is my answer. Please do B and C on your own. Okay, now, as we get into more difficult problems, we kind of just did those last three just by habit from practicing in 6th and 7th grade. So now let's go by step what we should do. So to factor by the greatest common factor, step 1, we need to find the GCF of the coefficients, which is kind of what we've been doing so far. Step 2, find the GCF of the variables. Again, we need to know how many of those can we pull out. Okay, and then in parentheses here, always pick the blank one. Well, up here we had x and x to the third. We picked the smaller one. So always pick the smaller one, the less amount, some kind of word that means smallest. Step 3, blank each term in the polynomial by the GCF. So remember, we took the products and we found the product, so the answer multiplication. So we're doing the opposite. We're dividing. I'm going to abbreviate this one with the division symbol. Each term by the polynomial in the polynomial by the GCF. Okay, and then step 4 says express the polynomial as the product of two factors. Because again, our answer should look like we're multiplying. The product of two factors. All right, so the next set of 6 I'd like you to do on your own. I'm going to again go ahead and pick out what I think is maybe the hardest. I guess I'll do the easiest looking one, which sometimes you guys think is complicated, and then I'll do the biggest one. So I'm going to do D and H. I want you guys to do the other 4 on your own. So letter D. What does XY and XZ have in common? First of all, I see no leading coefficient, so I won't be pulling out any numbers. I see no coefficients at all besides 1, and it would be useless for us to pull out a 1. Now, I still need you to know that you are taking a 1 out, because dividing by 1 changes nothing, and that will come into play later in this unit. But right now, all I see that these two things have in common is an x. So I'm going to then divide each term by x, and you should get y minus z. Now we're finished. Letter H. Now I have coefficients, so I'm going to think 42 and 7. I should hear a multiplication memorization problem in my head that 7 comes out of both of those. I have a to the third, a squared. I want the smaller of those two, so I'm going to take out an a squared. I have b to the fourth, b to the third. Again, I'm going to take out the smaller of those two, which is b to the third. Now I'm strictly dividing. 42 divided by 7 is 6. a to the third divided by a to the squared is first. Or sorry, a to the first, or just a. b to the fourth divided by b to the third is just b. Still didn't change my symbol. 7 divided by 7 is 1. I could show the 1 as a coefficient. Again, I don't have to. A squared divided by a squared is 1. B cubed divided by B cubed is 1. I do need a number here, so all of those 1s are just multiplying by 1. I'll leave it as a 1, and I'm done. Please try those last 4 on your own. All right, on the back we have a lot more practice here. Again, I'm hesitant to give you the answers because I want you to show the work and get the answer. Maybe you get it wrong, but check it on your own and do all of that. So I'm not going to show you the answers. I'll just pick a few more to do. I'll do J, I'll do M, I'll do R. And some of these, like if you look right now at Q, for example, that's totally a 6th grade problem that you did 2 years ago. So don't get overwhelmed with the easy ones. And I guess U is maybe a big one, so we'll do that one too. So I'll do those 4. The rest I'd like you to pause the video and do on your own. So letter J. We always want the greatest common factor. So 48, 24, 36. Some of you might be thinking some number, maybe like 6. There's a bigger one. We want the biggest. We want the greatest. So way back in 6th grade, again, we wrote these things like 48, 24, 36. And you lined up and wrote all the greatest common factors. I am hoping that we can do a lot more of this in our heads or use your calculator, but we don't have time to show all of that work and do all of that effort. So again, the better you are with your multiplication facts, as always since 3rd grade, the better you will do. The greatest common factor in this one is 12. I see d to the 6th, d to the 4th, d to the 3rd. I need the smallest, so d to the 3rd will be it. Now I'm dividing each of my 3 terms by the number I'm pulling out. So when I'm done, I should have a factor out front and in parentheses 3 more terms or a trinomial. So 48 divided by 12 is 4. D to the 6th divided by d to the 3rd is d to the 3rd. 24 divided by 12 is 2. D to the 1st. 36d cubed divided by 12d cubed is plus 3. And we're done. Now, if you're wondering, okay, I don't know if I'm right and I'm feeling a little nervous, you can always distribute this answer. So take this and give it to all 3 terms. And if you end up where you started, you have the right answer. I do caution. Some students, when they do this, they distribute and they get in the habit of, yes, I got the answer. And then after they distribute, they'll circle that answer. But that's not right. The answer was when you factored. This is your answer. So if you want to show more work, that's fine. But at the end of the day, circle the answer, not your check. Do not circle your check. All right, letter M. 39 and 13, the greatest common factor of those is 13. 8 to the 24th, 8 to the 12th, I'm going to take the smaller, which is 8 to the 12th. I should get 3 8 to the 12th. Plus 1. And I'm done. All right. Letter R. X cubed plus x squared plus x. Okay, first of all, we cannot add those together because they don't have the same exponents. They're all different, so they're not like terms. So I'm just looking to pull something out. Well, they all have an x, and I want the least number, so that would be 1. Divide each one, I should get x squared plus x plus 1, and I'm done. Letter U, 12, 20, and 8. The greatest common factor there is 4. I have x squared, x, so I'm going to take out x squared. Y squared, y to the 5th, y to the 4th. The smallest is y squared. Again, in my parentheses, I should have 3 terms. So I started with 3 terms. So 12 divided by 4 is 3. X squared divided by x squared is 1, so the x's are canceled. Y squared divided by y squared, y's are canceled again, so I just have a 3 as my first term. 20 divided by 4 is 5, or negative 20 divided by 4 is negative 5, if it helps you to visualize the negative. The x's again cancel, I'm left with y to the 3rd. 8 divided by 4 is 2. And I already found a mistake. So right now I'm looking to pull out an x squared from x, and I can't do that. So I'm going to go back and start all over. I'm good with my 4, and I'm just going to change that to an x. And y squared I'm still okay with. So 3x now, because 2x, x squared, and x leaves you with 1x, minus 5x y to the 3rd plus 2 y squared, and we're done. All right, last 2 are word problems. I will do V, and I'd like you to do W on your own, and then finish the notes on your own. Letter V, a 10-inch fireworks shell is fired from the ground level. There should be a nice period there. The height of the shell in feet is given by the expression 263t minus 16t squared, where t is the time in seconds after the launch. This is a great problem. It models a lot of Regents level questions. It's asking us to do the same thing. It's just putting it in words and putting it in a story for us. Write the expression in factored form. So 263t minus 16t squared. So now, this one I definitely don't have memorized. 263, I don't know if 16 goes into that, so maybe I just grab a calculator and check. It doesn't go in evenly, so now maybe I think back to some shortcuts. So 16 is divisible by 4, so 263 divided by 4 still doesn't work. So it sounds like in this case, there may not be a coefficient that these two monomials have in common. And that's fine. So all maybe I can pull out is a t. So 263 minus 16t, and we're done. Again, please finish the rest on your own. Good luck.